If you've spent any amount of time scrolling the internet, particularly social media sites, then you will surely know that the internet is a chaotic place, which is, putting it mildly, seemingly random things get shared around. Information is spread around the world in a matter of mere hours, sometimes. And the only thing you can really say for certain about the online world is that it will be undoubtedly a complete disaster. This framing probably sounds pretty negative, but I mean it in the best possible way. It's my favorite kind of disaster because it's not totally senseless and it's not random by any means. When you have a large enough group of people who are actually allowed to say whatever they want about anything they feel like, such as on X, aka Twitter, then you end up with a reflection of humanity as a sort of statistical average. If we just leave it there, then it looks like humanity has a really ugly looking reflection. This is only partially accurate because the internet is like a funhouse mirror. It warps the reflection just enough to make it look way dumber than it actually is. When we look at any large online space, we are seeing a funky, warped version of what people look like as a whole. Wow, Isaac, can you tell us what the point is already? Yes, me, impatient bastard. The point is that chaotic places like X are extremely important because it facilitates true and honest open discussion. The reason it looks so bad on the surface is because the internet is where a lot of inner frustrations come out, and people have a tendency to be way harsher online than they would ever be in person. So, in practice, it looks pretty bad to a lot of people, but that part doesn't really matter. Imagine that you're in a room with your friends, or just a group of people you may or may not know. Everybody is trying to figure out what to do during this little get together. One person speaks up and says, "Let's see who can chug the most hard liquor without throwing up." This is the scenario for my analogy. If open discussion is suppressed and people are afraid to voice disagreements, everybody else in the room may think it's a stupid idea, but nobody says anything against it. Each person individually feels isolated as a result, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority is rational enough to know that chugging liquor is a dumb idea. The person who suggested it continues to believe it's a good idea, and it may actually happen if nobody is able to voice concerns. People get roped into it, and nobody has any fun. Bad time all around. If open discussion is accepted and normal, then people will immediately push against the idea of chugging liquor. The rational majority recognizes that there's a lot of people who think it's stupid, and so individuals feel empowered to speak up more and even explore the reasons as to why it's a stupid idea. The person who suggested it may feel hurt, but that's how life goes. Say something dumb, get pushed back, learn from it, and you move on. It stings. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that the people in the room now hate this person. They just didn't like their idea. The back and forth may continue between the group, and eventually someone comes up with something that is actually fun. Much better time all around. Online spaces are very similar in this regard, just amplified to an absurd degree. One person saying one dumb thing can get huge amounts of pushback of all forms, and it can be highly overwhelming. However, this process of collective reasoning is way more important than any one person's feelings. Sounds harsh, but that's just the truth. It's more important than my feelings, it's more important than your feelings. Emotions and feelings change on a daily basis. The things that humanity collectively follows through on cannot be undone that easily. It is actually better to hurt some people's feelings by filtering out bad ideas than it is to act on bad ideas just to keep some people from feeling hurt. Coddling emotions like they're sacred makes things worse for everybody. Being reasonable often comes at the cost of emotional comfort, and that's just how it has to be. If you ever asked your mom or dad for something as a kid and they said no because XYZ reason, whatever, and you got upset about it, as kids do, that's the same concept. The parent has to put their foot down and be reasonable because the kid wouldn't make the reasonable choice on their own. The kid gets upset for like an hour at most, and they're better off in the long run. It's literally the same exact thing online, just in a more grown up form. Everybody says something stupid from time to time, and if nobody ever told us we said something stupid, we probably might never know. There's probably some dumb shit that I said on this channel somewhere. Feel free to let me know if I do say something especially dumb. It's very hard to learn from a mistake that's never pointed out. Although, honestly, I'm more likely to argue that I'm right, because I am. But that is a whole other thing. The point of open discussion is not to be comfortable or even totally polite. The actual point is to refine ideas and find the most beneficial path forward that creates the most ideal result. There are good things and bad things about any path forward, and we should be able to argue over what the best option is. We do the messy parts of talking about it now so that bigger and even more messy problems aren't created later. Trying to control the outcome of any open discussion with manipulation or fear always backfires, just as a side note. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If people are not allowed to voice their concerns as they have them, with no politeness filter, no filter on the topic, on the idea, on the opinion, then these concerns are held internally until they become resentment. Once resentment is the stronger emotion involved in any issue, being reasonable is no longer considered a viable option.